Mm. Mm. The psyche is a sensitive thing. So sensitive. The psyche is a sensitive thing. Sensitive. Sensitive. The psyche is a sensitive thing. The psyche is not a thing, which is why it's so sensitive. The psyche is not a thing. It senses things. You can sense the psyche, and at that point it won't be a thing. That's really the psyche sensing the psyche. So, for me, I think I really started to see the positive dimension of the psyche, well, the psyche's sensitivity in the early 2000s. I had been meditating for maybe just a year, so this would have been in 2001 or 2. And I was in North Carolina, in Cashiers, North Carolina, which is in the Blue Mountains, and my parents had a summer vacation home in a really wonderful mountain community called Trillium. There's a great golf course and clubhouse, lots of money there. And because Georgia would get really hot during the summer, we would migrate to the Blue Mountains in North Carolina. I hope I'm getting these mountains right. So this is the part of North Carolina that's just on the top of Georgia. And it was undergoing a real kind of radical transformation at that time. I had been reading Krishnamurti, and I finally reached a point of crisis in my consciousness that I had to start meditating to stabilize all the chaos that Krishnamurti had created in me, or the friction between me and Krishnamurti. He was like my first real spiritual teacher. And I started meditating and started to realize that everything he was talking about I could not stabilize his realization of the truth as a pathless land without actually meditating. And I was building that kind of interiority, that musculature that psychological musculature, the psychospiritual musculature. I was becoming more capable of holding my sensitivity without being capsized by it, without being torpedoed by it. Still had a long way to go, but I had this really wonderful, marvelous, exquisite experience on the golf course up there in North Carolina. I will never forget this moment. I was golfing, and I had just hit my drive in the fairway. And it wasn't a long ball hitter, not like Tiger Woods. I wouldn't hit it 330 yards. I'd hit it 230 yards. And maybe I was just doing my second shot to the green. It's called the approach shot. Maybe I had, I don't know, a 5-iron. I like 5-irons. So I'm, going up to my ball, gonna hit it, and there's a butterfly coming up. I want to do a butterfly for you. This is a rather big butterfly. This is from the Jurassic era. So it was like kind of whitish yellow butterfly. And I remember I was on this fairway, and it was really green fairway, and there's trees everywhere. It's in the mountains. It's glorious, majestic. And this little butterfly, it's probably about that big. I don't even know if that makes sense to you in this. See, it's probably about that big. See, you can use my chin as a point of comparison. And I watched it, and I could feel it. Every flap of the wings, I could feel it. I could feel every flap, as if that butterfly were flapping inside me. So I was extremely sensitive to the flapping of the wings, as if they were inside me, on my skin, but within me. And I was amazed that I could feel that. And so that was a moment that was really just a boom. It's like mind blown, exploded. And I took note of that, obviously. It was really something, God, it happened 16, 17 years ago. And from then on, I became more conscious of sensitivity itself. I was like, how did I become so sensitive that I could feel a butterfly flapping its wings inside me? And, then I started noticing when I was watching people step on the earth, just in their shoes or socks or barefoot, that I could feel that too. And I could feel all these things that I was seeing or hearing. Oh, hearing is you can feel that too, obviously. If there's something really loud, you can feel it. That's no big deal. But to feel sight. Now, some people might say that that's just synesthesia, but I would just take away the just and say, okay, that can be synesthesia, where there's a mixture of tactile and visual, right? I can go with that. For me, that analysis doesn't go far enough for what I intuitively perceive and feel, but I still like it. What became apparent to me as a result of years of meditation is that we have the capacity just to become sensitivity itself. So that, starting with a butterfly flapping its wings, we can realize that we have a sensitivity that can feel everything within our interiority. That's why it doesn't stop with synesthesia, because that's just, in this context, it's about visual and tactile. But what I'm really talking about is a capital S sensitivity, where you feel everything as this rippling, flavorful sensation within your interiority, within your psyche, as your psyche. So when I say the psyche is not a thing, what I'm saying is the psyche is that which is sensitivity itself. It feels all things. And right when you feel the psyche feeling something, that's a bunch of things happening, and that's all cool. But all those psyche feeling, that's the butterfly. That's the butterflies inside. And then what is the inside? Well, this interiority has expanded and has become all-inclusive vis-a-vis exteriority. And that's the sensitivity that just keeps on expanding, like a big bang. We have just discovered a new metaphorical application of the concept of the Big Bang. It's a sensitivity that starts as an interior phenomenon and exponentially explodes outward so as to encompass and realize exteriority more and more and more and more, and exponentially. It's like an inflationary universe. Boom! Like that. So anyways, I want to bring it in. This is where the sensitivity really starts to palpitate, pulsate. Outward right here. This is it, baby. This is the organ of capital S sensitivity. Right there. It's the nexus of everything. Check in with this bad boy. Bringing it in, I had a Facebook friend, very sweet woman on the other side of the world, make a post about the divine plan. And I love that. And I wrote back on her wall, what do these words mean to you? And she's like, well, what do they mean to you? Let's contemplate it. And I'm like, hell yeah. And this is her hand, and this is my hand, and it's like this. Pow! High five, girl. Because I love that. I live for that. You know? And it's interesting. I don't always know what I hardly ever know what I'm really gonna talk about from any given day to day, and that's the point. It's got to be extemporaneous. That way I can just explore on the fly. And as soon as I started thinking about her question, you know, or her words, divine plan, I started launching into spontaneous monologues, and then I'm like, oh, that's how I know I'm hooked. I'm like, the fire has started already, and then we're rolling. And I was like, okay, well, that's what I'm gonna be discussing and acting today. And then I love to go to YouTube, and I've just got this utter fascination with, you know, 3 to 7 minute clips from Marvel movies, you know, whether it be Iron Man or Captain America or Avengers or whatever. And I'll listen to music, and there's this one commercial that happened as I pressed on an Audio Slave, Be Yourself, YouTube video, because I love Audio Slave. I love Chris Cornell. I love Rage Against the Machine, and whoa. And at the beginning of that video of Audio Slave, there's a commercial. And this commercial was a work of art. It was brilliant. I took commercial classes here in New York, and I have a sense of the acting that's required for the actors in a commercial. And it's off the hook. You gotta be super freaking talented to pull off a commercial. Those actors that make the commercials work, and you get these commercials become viral and create a lot of revenue for companies. These actors are amazing. I learned a lot from my commercial acting class at the studio in New York, and I realized I had a disdain for commercials. Like, I was never going to be a good commercial actor because my teacher was this amazing man who I just adore, and he was like, you have contempt for commercials, don't you? And I was like, I think so. He's like, you're judging all of this, aren't you? And I'm like, yeah, I think so. And I wanted to be in that. I just picked my nose. It's cool, just the edge. I wanted to, nice, huh? Whoosh, nothing on it, though. Damn, maybe next time. Maybe I'll pick out a butterfly. You could feel it inside you as a feeling of revulsion. Oh my God, look at that booger butterfly. Anyways, I realized I was judgmental. I was like, I do not want to. Here's what it was. I'm gonna give you the distillation. All this that you see was not going to be hijacked to sell cat food. I was literally memorizing scripts, little scripts, and performing them to sell cat food. And that's when that kind of realization is what really put me on the road to what I'm doing now with the Improvisutra. I was like, all this, meow, meow. And I was like, I tried to explain it to him in the class, and then there's one girl in the back, and she's like, no, an actor will act anything. It doesn't matter. And the teacher agreed, and I was just like, that was a little bit of a crisis for me, because I love acting. And I'm like, this isn't going to be in the service of cat food. I'm not going to do that for some cat food company. I love to meow, but it's not going to go for cat food. I'm sorry. I love kitties. My roommate's got a kitty. It's a beautiful kitty. A little overweight. I'm not prejudiced against overweight kitties. Whenever I have a deep thought on Facebook, I often accompany it with 4 kitties. Pink. Otherwise known as kittas. Kittahs. So, anyways, this commercial, you know what I love about these videos? I'm like, go way off topic, and then I gotta bring it back in. And I'm like, where was I? Oh, I was there. Instantaneous Google search brought it back in, took the archival footage and reintegrated it. It's archival in the sense that it's like 30 seconds ago. That can be a lifetime when you're trying to figure out where you were and where you're going, and you don't know, and that's the point. Okay, so this Audi commercial, but I didn't know it was an Audi commercial. Actually, I did, but it didn't make sense to me. Like, there's a little tag at the bottom of the commercial on YouTube that says Audi something.com. I was like, that's interesting. That doesn't make sense. It was about this woman at a board meeting, and the manager or the CEO of the company was talking, and she ended up getting the Employee of the Year award. And there was this great music playing, and it was really, you could tell a lot of millions of dollars went into this commercial, because everything was sparkly clean and professional looking, and she was happy and everybody was clapping for her. And the next scene, she's in her cubicle office and she's looking at a post-it note where she's where it says, "Find dream job." And she realized that she had actualized that dream, so she crossed it out and create dream job. So she had maximized one trajectory of evolution for herself, and she was now ready to graduate to the next level. She's up-leveling her game. And so, oh my God, this is a brilliant commercial. It was really a work of art. I love it. So she gets everything in that kind of cliche, proverbial box where you put your whole office in a box and it's got handles on the side, and you walk out and everybody starts to stand up and look at her, and she's the Employee of the Year, and they're like, whoa, she's leaving at the top of her game, whoa. And it's just like, you know, Rocky, da-dun-dun, 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 da-dun-dun. She goes out the office building, and the security guard is like, whoa. She hands him a little cactus, boom, she's out. But it doesn't stop there, because apparently everybody on the street recognizes her. Maybe because she's worked near all those buildings. And so the people in the coffee shop get up and they look out through the window at her. And she's carrying her box. And other people stop and get out of their cars. And I'm like, whoa, this is a fucking brilliant commercial. I'm like, wow. I'm like, I'm so hooked. And then she's like, all of a sudden, walking on a highway. And I'm like, what? Well, I don't know if she's walking. I can't remember that clearly, but I see a highway shot. And then finally, by the end of the commercial, and the music is just dope, she walks into a car lot where they're selling Audis, and the Audi is about to be her dream car. Like, okay, now she's creating her dream job, and now she's got the Audi, and I was like, I almost felt duped. I was like, all that? And now I'm going to go buy an Audi? She buys an Audi, and that's the fulfillment of some kind of dream epiphany of creating her own dream job. I'm like, what is going on? It's almost like it totally manipulated there. Noam Chomsky really pointed this out one time. He's like, all this commercial corporatization stuff, it's not about being logical when you're selling things in this market economy. It's just about hooking the emotions. You know, if it were really logical, you'd have these commercials that point out all the logical aspects of the product, and that's why you make a rational decision. But that fucking Audi commercial, whoa, tugged on my heartstrings, opened up, and all the butterflies flew out. And I'm like, wow, I'm just total sensitivity toward an Audi. I'm gonna sell you cat food now. And thinking to myself, whoa, and then it dawns on me. Audi. Audio slave. Whoa. Did I get that Audi commercial? Because I was clicking on audio slave, and Audi and audio linked. Feel that butterfly? Is there a divine plan? A divine plan? Oh my God, because I was thinking about that divine plan. I was like, whoa. And there's a word I want to say right now, and I haven't really said it very much. I'm going to say it. Interstitial. Boom. Interstitially interlinked. Oh, feel that butterfly. Audi. Audio slave, dream job, dream car. Is there a divine plan? Butterflies expanding from the heart of sensitivity, because the psyche is not a thing. The psyche is sensitivity. Is there a divine plan? In some sense, it feels like an archaic question, doesn't it? You want to step back and say, well, what are the terms of discourse here? Are we presuming that there's divinity? Are we just presuming that such a thing as a plan would be such a thing for a divinity to enact? Why do we need plans? And if you want to see God laugh, show me a 5-year plan. If there's a divine plan, is God laughing at himself for making a fucking plan? Sorry, itself. I often think about what is the autobiography of the question, of the questioner. Who needs a plan? Well, people who want plans. Why do they want plans? Why do they want a super plan? Because they want to be saved? That's what I'm tempted to think. They want order. Why? Because there's so much quote-unquote chaos and disorganization in their lives. So they say, oh, there's a plan. But it's not just, it's obviously, my life doesn't have a plan. I can't tell shit from chat. Then there must be, hopefully, I think, a divine plan. But let's really look at that. Does that mean that the whole future has been predestined? And that it's just going according to plan? If that's the case, then what we're currently experiencing was the future of a past, which means that everything we're doing now, in this context, would be predestined. So is this a real tightly structured plan, in the sense that everything is predetermined? Everything we're doing now and everything in the future has been predetermined? If that's the case, then that's a really omniscient and omnipotent divine being. But then you look at it, and you're like, wait a minute, okay, everything is predetermined. Let's look at the 20th century real quick and think about the hundreds of millions of people that died in the world wars, and the hundreds of millions of people that died in what's called democide, which is when governments kill their own citizens. Was that part of the divine plan? And if that's part of the divine plan, and that was predestined, because the plan, okay, has always got to be moving toward some kind of architecture, some kind of resolution, and it's been going on since the beginning of time. That means all the hundreds of millions of people in the 20th century Did they die according to plan? All that murder and genocide and homicide and blah, blah, blah? That's not divine. And if that were divine, then we would have a really pathological divinity, right? And then we're like, oh, that's all part of God's plan, or the divine plan. Really? Or is that you just holding on to your rationalization and not being able to give it up? Because at that point, you're like, holy shit. If there's a divine plan and hundreds of millions of people were murdered in the 20th century alone, what do I do with that? What do I do with genocide, for example? That can't be the divine plan. So you go back to the drawing board and you're like, well, why do I even want a divine plan? Huh? Do I really want to fulfill someone else's plan? If I want to be saved, maybe I do, right? I feel this program and I'm like, boom. Give me a program, because I can't handle the butterflies inside, the butterflies outside. For me, personally, I don't have any answer as to whether there's a divine plan. I think that's a product of our consciousness kind of producing these things called plans, and then expanding them outward so that they have cosmic proportions, because we actually have a cosmic dimension to our own consciousness. And then we put a plate on top of it, a ceiling, and call it a plan. But that's really the subtle body of the human being. Putting a cap on the causal body, let's say. Let's just imagine this. I have this capacity for infinite boundless release. I'm plugged into this boundless radiant energy. Oh, and that's the causal. And then I got this subtle concept that I tap on top of it called a plan. The divine is my own expansive sensitivity interiority that's virtually boundless. That's the divine. The plan is the subtle cap I put on top, the little ceiling. And together, I think that somehow wraps it up. We're done. But what if I don't put that cap on there? And I am this sensitivity, this causal, infinite expanse and release and expansion of boundless energy. And there's just this exquisite, sublime sensitivity that we are, capital S, that is no thing. And we just keep expanding as that sensitivity and touching and feeling and creating and discovering and exploring without necessarily a preconceived plan, a program. Because think about it. Once we fulfill that plan or that program, we're going to want a new one. And then a new one. And then a new one. And then a new one. And if you ever noticed this whole divine plan thing, when's it going to be fulfilled? It's always indefinitely postponed in the future. And we're like, okay, this is part of God's plan. Well, when is that plan going to be finished? When is it going to be fulfilled? Because when it is, we're going to get bored and we're going to invent another one. And if that's the case, well, what? Maybe it's already been fulfilled a cajillion trillion times, and then it keeps on evolving. And maybe that's what it is. That sensitivity that's always evolving into greater and greater butterflies.